Back to the bill. Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Back in 2005, there was a popular, well-known governor of a state who was working hard to figure out how to reform their health care system in that state. He had advisors come to him, talk to him about that. They said, well, you're a Republican and you need to make sure that you honor free market principles, and you need to make sure that in reforming health care in our state that you make sure that everybody has their individual choice. He was leaned on heavily by those advisors to let the free market take care of the problem of limited access to affordable health care. He personally rejected that. He said to his advisors, personal accountability and responsibility is critical here. My idea, in fact, I insist that every resident of this state accept the responsibility of obtaining for themselves health care. They owe it to themselves, they owe it to their neighbor, they owe it to the taxpayers of the state. Actually, it was a commonwealth, but that's something that they need to do. And if they get in an accident, if they have a serious illness come their way, they shouldn't be foisting off the cost of their health care to their neighbor or to the taxpayer. And his strong feelings about that carried the day. Now, you all know, I'm talking about Governor Mitt Romney, who passed in Massachusetts a bill, a program that later served as the model for the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act that was passed by Congress, and we sometimes hear affectionately called Obamacare. When I hear the most recent commercials from the senior senator from the state of Utah, it comes out like this: Obamacare. But the point is, this was viewed as a conservative idea by that governor at that time. Since then, of course, he's distanced himself from some of those concepts. But it was something that he viewed, felt strongly at the time, tied directly into personal responsibility and accountability. And in fact, it wasn't his idea. It came from a number of conservative think tanks from many years before, all of whom said personal accountability and responsibility are core conservative principles. That's critical. That's at the core of what is the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. And it's one of the things that we now hear in SB 208 is so objectionable, that we should be forced as individuals to take personal responsibility and accountability for our own health care coverage. That's problematic. I would suggest to you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, excuse me.
Do you want me to rule you out of order?
No, and I'd like you to not cut my time. Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I would submit to you that, in fact, Governor Mitt Romney had it right. He had it right then. And Congress, when it passed the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act in 2010, they likewise had it right. That it's important, if you want to have accessible, affordable health care, quality health care for the citizens of this state and this country, you've got to have a specific way of making sure that everyone can get access to that health care. I'm not saying the only way to do it is by an individual mandate. I don't think that's true. You could go a single payer route, but there's even less appetite for that, especially in this body, than there is for an individual mandate, I suspect. So my point is simply this. Let's not go off in this direction of SB 208 simply because it was passed and under a Democratic Congress, and it was encouraged and supported by a Democrat president, when what we're talking about here is basic conservative principles dealing with individual responsibility and accountability. Vote against SB 208.